Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
The missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother has went through a wall, came home, now they can't find her.
Turn it over to another agency.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Once I told a lie, and I told my family, I had to keep lying.
McSherman is a demon.
We haven't cleared anybody.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is another ATS News live stream, and this is specifically a Watts case deep dive. This, I believe, is our episode 18 in the Enigma series that we've come up with, which basically goes over the whole case with a fine-tooth comb. So thank you guys so much for being here. I see Bubba is here on his birthday. If you're listening right now, I know you made this comment before the stream started. Happy birthday. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I saw Johnny's handing out tea here. Can you guys hear me okay before we get into things? Hi, Tony, and everyone else who's here. Somebody said they're here from Sweden. So I'm scrolling up. Hi, you all. Sweden in the house. Hi, chat, mods, and the great hostess. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. And yeah, hit that like button. So tonight we are discussing the lazy dog. So as you guys know, who have been following this case for a while, they went out on their last date, supposedly on August 11th, and the murders happened on the 13th. So 2 days before the murders take place, Chris and his mistress, Nicholkessinger, go out to dinner while Shanann is in Arizona at an MLM Thrive convention, and they have a babysitter come watch the kids. The babysitter gets interviewed, and unfortunately, we needed some information from the babysitter that she just couldn't remember, specifically in regards to what type of shoes was Chris wearing, because in the surveillance video that we have of him after the date at the gas station, for some reason, he's wearing socks with flip-flops. And it's just very odd. A lot of people have always pointed that out, including myself. And I'm just like, who goes out on a date to a bar and grill and is wearing socks with flip-flops? So, you know, the devil is in the details. And that is a detail that I just don't understand. So unfortunately, the babysitter was asked, you know, what shoes was he wearing? Did she remember? She didn't remember. A lot of people have speculated that a lot of bad things happened that night in regards to premeditation for the murder on Monday. Some people think that the hole was pre-dug at Cervi. I'm not under that impression anymore. I entertained that theory for a while. Sometimes my theories change in this case. I don't know exactly what happened that night in regards to them being out at the crime scene at Cervi 319, but I just don't think that that shallow grave was pre-dug. I think it's hard. It's hard. The socks and flip-flops were great in high school, late 90s. Other than that, nope. Yeah, it just makes zero sense. It really doesn't make any sense. And obviously, it's a very minor detail, but it's just a head scratcher, I think. And hello, Deco, Painter and Tea. Thank you guys for being here. So what I've done is kind of pulled out everything in the discovery in regards to the lazy dog. I also have a video. Okay, CDT, that'd be awesome. She's going to join. Let me send her a link before my phone dies. Give me a second, actually, because I have to grab the link from, and I'm still kind of sick, guys. So if I sound out of breath, I'm still kind of getting over my cold. So sorry about that. Hold on. I'm sending her the link for when she can join. There's no rush, but that would be awesome. And I know everyone's happy to hear from her always. So I've got pages in the discovery in regards to this aspect in the case. that I can go through. Also an interview with Nicole Kessinger that I've clipped and put stuff together, where she talks about the lazy dog. And of course, there's very little detail from Nicole Kessinger because she can't remember certain things and, has selective memory, of course. But, and then we've got Chris discussing it in prison with Agent Coder, Tammy, and Detective Baumhover. And we can listen to what he had to say about that night. The other thing that is sort of important in regards to this whole lazy dog night is they spent some time at Nicole Kessinger's apartment. And we never get to see inside her apartment. We have no supplemental reports of any investigation going on there. They never went there to see really anything. So there's theories that the children were being held there, possibly. We don't know if their scent was picked up there. It's just a lot of questions. And, every time that law enforcement met with Nicole Kessinger, none of those happened at her apartment. So they never knocked on her door and said, can we come in? Can we talk to you? It was always, we'll pick you up down the street. She goes into the department with her father. She goes in by herself, but that's way down the line, weeks later. And she's, we just never hear anything about her apartment or see anything. And it's a lot of questions and mysteries there. So the other thing too is she had a friend come in that she was entertaining and hosting that weekend. Her name was Danielle. In her interview, she kind of tries to call this friend Daniel, it seems, to kind of hide her identity, people have speculated on. Because remember, she doesn't want to get her friends involved. She's made that very clear with Leave Jim Alone. So yes, where is Danielle? So she, I don't know, but she was there that weekend, and whatever took place that weekend is, I think key to this whole story and the plot of Premeditation. We can see her Google searches that took place that night in the discovery and other things too. So let's just get into it. I think we'll start with the clip of Chris speaking to Coder in prison. And the audio isn't the best because it was like recorded in this cafeteria area. I don't know of the prison, but you can hear like a fan. Either way, you can make out that he says something along the lines of, he wished that, so he was invited to go to the Rockies game with Jeremy, whose daughter was the babysitter. So he gets the babysitter for the lazy dog night so he can go with NK. And Jeremy says, hey, do you want to go to this Rocky games instead? Come with me. We can have a good time. And Chris says in this little clip with Coder, I really wish I would have just, told Nicole that I wasn't able to get a babysitter and that I couldn't make it that night. And I could have gone to the game with Jeremy and it would have put me into a different trajectory. And he says, God was giving me an opportunity to get out and I should have taken it. So all these kind of little innuendos referring to the night of the lazy dog. So yeah, Paul, there is better audio. We've actually gone through the prison interview with that audio. So I have like a whole series of us listening to the prison interview and it's with that sharp, crisp audio. But when I did this little clip, I wasn't going to go through the whole 3 hours, something minutes to find this one lazy dog aspect. So I found it through actually CDT's channel and it's kind of the older one. Yeah, the computer room was a little noisy, but I tried to kind of clear it up a little bit. I think it'll still be okay. But I pretty much just summed up what he's pretty much saying. Like God gave him an opportunity. He should have taken it. He wished he did. He has regret going there. But then there's still a lot of mysteries in regards to, what was spoken at that lazy dog. Remember, they go to one location and Nicole Kessinger states that she didn't like the menu. So they pack up and they decide to go to a different lazy dog location. And a lot of people are like, why would you go to one and then go to the other? Come to find out, they did have different menus. But that's not why I think they left. I think that they were meeting up with other people. This is just my opinion, of course. And the other people went to the wrong one. So Nicole and Chris packed up and they met them at the other location. So then that causes confusion when they go and they do the follow-up, which will look in the discovery files, and you see that they're unable to get any proof that Chris and Nicole Kessinger were there. We'll read through that. So here we go. And also the other thing too that adds like a mysterious element to this whole lazy dog night is Ronnie, his father, was asked, this is years after he's been in prison. Ronnie came out a couple years ago and he was asked, what did you and Chris discuss when you were in the car together when he picked you up from the airport? And Ronnie says something along the lines of, all Chris kept saying was, he should have gone to the game. I should have gone to the game. And so that is just another thing that's kind of like, so then what happened that night? What exactly happened the night of the lazy dog? So let's get into it, guys. Thank you again for being here. And hit that like button if you haven't done so. And here we go.
But then that's when she started wanted to talk more. She was pretty mad.
Yeah, it was, I already kind of knew that, using that credit card, it was going to do it.
Was that intentional?
Yeah. I had no other way to do it.
Oh.
I used, because I got these.
So they're talking about how he used the credit card. And for those who don't know, Shanann, when she's in Arizona at her convention, she gets alerts like a lot of people do when a purchase is made and they're sharing the same bank account. So it came up on Shanann's phone that $63 was spent at Lazy Dog. And Shanann was under the impression that he was going with friends to watch the game. So she gets this alert for $63 and she's kind of like, what is he buying there that's adding up to $63, because if he's just with friends, he should only be buying stuff for himself, maybe a round of beers for a friend, but that's not going to equal $63. $63 sounds like dinner for two, drinks for two, right? So she gets the alert and they're asking Chris in the prison interview, like, did you purposely use that credit card? Because, that kind of set things off with Shanann kind of being alerted to something going on while she's out of town. And Chris, of course, says like, well, I was using my Anadarko gift cards, this is one displayed on the screen, but I just didn't have any. And, I really wished that I could have asked Nicole to kind of pick up the tab that night, but I didn't. So, of course, another example of Chris just being a spineless, passive person. And, there's a level of passive people, and then there's Chris Watts passive. And this is just an example of him. That's the thing, too, is a lot of people think that the credit card was a part of the plan. Get Shanann upset, get her to come home so that they could have an altercation, and that would kind of spark it. But the way that Chris describes it is that wasn't the plan. I'm almost thinking that, I don't know. I go back and forth. I think that maybe he was trying to show Nicole that he really was done with his old life. So, he'll use the credit card to show her because she was having doubts. She says in her interview that he seemed to be backing out of the idea of getting an apartment, and that it didn't seem like he was going to follow through with the apartment aspect. So was he trying to show her and other people that he was still on board and, he didn't give a crap if Shanann saw this alert? And then once he's in prison, he's telling a different story. Like, oh yeah, I wish she would have just paid. I wish I could have asked her. It's really hard to tell, was the credit card used on purpose or not? It's really up to you guys to kind of determine what your theory and all that is.
Narco gift cards from doing good stuff at work and stuff like that. And I'd use them all.
Oh. Was part of you just like, screw it, whatever, I don't care, I'm using this card?
part of me just wants to say, Nikki, can you pay for this? But I don't know.
Yeah.
Even I think from what my attorney said, she even noticed I used a different card, like a blue card. Maybe she thought, like I felt comfortable enough just using a normal bank account or something. But I told her I was going to Iraq, and I told you I was going to Iraq.
Yeah.
It was just like, it felt like, like looking back at everything, like just like reading the scripture more and more now, I can see like, God gave me opportunities to get out. Like even my friend Jeremy Lindstrom, he even invited me because like it was his daughter that came and watched the kids on that Saturday night. And he was like, hey, you said we're going to a Rocky game. You want to go to me with the Bronco game and watch the Arizona Cardinals? Like, in my mind, it was like, go. Just say, hey, I can't find a babysitter. Bye.
Nikki?
Yeah. And maybe that would have been like, like a light switch in my head goes off, light switch in her head goes off, maybe it just like goes different directions. That was kind of like my last opportunity to kind of get out, it seems like. So I wish I would have said, yeah, let's go. Yeah. And I think that would have just put me on a different trajectory.
So then, Shanann, did she actually say you're never going to see the kids again?
She said that to me before.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly, James. Get out of what? The murder? He's basically saying that night when Jeremy Lindstrom gives him the opportunity, like, hey, do you want to go watch this game instead with me? That would have put him on a different trajectory and a different direction. And that was his last chance to get out. So, what exactly took place that night? Yeah, they had sex before they went to dinner. And then I think it describes more sex after dinner, but I'm not sure. We'll have to pull that up in the discovery. And don't mind this picture with the brown bikini on the screen. It's part of the case. Like somebody said in one of our last lives, brown house, brown bikini. So, all right, let's pull up the page in the discovery that kind of talks about the lazy dog. There is a few pages. So let's start with one, and then we'll go to a clip talking about with Frank, who talks about how Shanann got the alert on her phone, Frank Sr., and then we'll go to another page in this. We'll just go back and forth to kind of mix up the visual for you guys, because I know sometimes looking at the discovery page, it's kind of like, for me at least, it's not as stimulating. But I'll guarantee this subject's stimulating for some. And mind you, this is your warning. I mean, I think you can see in the search bar over here what I had to look up to find this page. Kind of embarrassing for even me to kind of talk about this stuff, but it's part of the case. Melmac, are you laughing at the screen, or are you laughing at something else? So yeah, get your giggles out right now. This is your warning that we're discussing some content, explicit content, that came up when you look up lazy dog in the discovery. And you want to know what kind of was the timeline of that night, right? So let me grab my glasses. What did she buy at the thrift store? She brags about buying stuff at the thrift store, which I love the thrift store, but the fact that NK loves it, it just kind of ruins it for me. All right, so, and remind you, this is real notes. Oh, yay. I'm so glad you're here at this part, because I think you can see on the screen the word I had to look up to find this page.
Oh boy.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is. I know, this is like a blast from the past looking at all this stuff.
What a phrase to use, blast.
Oh my word. I didn't even think about that.
Just leave it to me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So anyways, how are you doing before we start reading this? And
I am doing well, thank you. And how are you? And how is everyone in chat? It's good to be here.
We're good. We're good. We're
Good.
happy to have you. Melanie's happy to have you. Everyone's glad you're here.
Me too.
Yeah, she probably got that brown bikini at the thrift store. No doubt.
She would.
No doubt. I know. It's like I'll buy things at the thrift store, but underwear and bikini's not going to be one of them. But NK's the type that would be like, but it's so cheap.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just love the way that the detective wrote this out. In anticipation for her evening with Watts, Kessinger spent 45 minutes searching Google on topics like how to prepare for anal sex and the anal sex guide. This progressed to searches at Pornhub for interracial porn videos and threesomes with double penetration. This was by no means the only time she sought out pornographic videos via the internet. So that right there, I mean, take it for what you will. Some people think, and again, this was sort of something that I've kind of dug into after kind of searching stuff about, the satanic stuff. And I don't know if anyone knows this. I know that we've talked about this, but supposedly this type of sex opens up the third eye. Supposedly, like when we hear about Hollywood participating in in satanic rituals, this type of sex is always mentioned. There's actually a clip out there of Angelina Jolie kind of talking about a ritual that she took part in that involved this type of sex. I think that this has little to do with anticipation for Watts, and it has more to do with dark stuff that they were kind of exploring. And I don't know. What do you think about that theory?
I definitely think that is possible and a factor. I also think it would be very interesting if we could see like the times when she was looking that up. Like, was it when she was supposed to be with Chris? Was it at work? Like, I don't know. I just think that is a really interesting layer to it. And then I have always said, and I kind of heard you saying, and people were talking about her friend who she hosted that weekend. Like, where was she during all of this? If you host somebody, to me, that means they're staying with you. So, like, where was she? I would love to know more about the hosting of Danielle when all of this was going on.
I know. It's very hush-hush about this whole entire night. So that's kind of why we're combing through this. But even combing through what we have of this, it's still kind of like, wait, what? And the fact that we never get to see inside of NK's apartment, no supplemental reports of an investigation or investigators going there. It's kind of like, Chris even calls her apartment like her safe house or something like that. And it's like, is this really an apartment? Because we had found out that she had other properties too, like that she might have been staying at.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a prop, it seems. I don't know.
Yes.
It's very weird, but it does give us a little bit more of like what was going on that night. So it says Shanann asked what time Watts was leaving for the game. He replied between 6:30 and 7. And then it says he called the local Papa John's pizza store. Shanann asked McKenna, who's the babysitter, "Hey, love, this is Shanann. How are the girls?" McKenna replied, "They are doing great. Cece ate 3 slices of pizza." Shanann thanked McKenna for watching the girls and asked if she needs anything, just ask. In contrast, Watts never checked in with McKenna to see how the girls were doing or whether McKenna needed anything. Well, he was a little busy, I'm sure. Watts searched Google for lazy dog on 120th Avenue. And then it says Watts searched Google for restaurants near 120th Avenue, including the Rusty Bucket. Shanann asked McKenna if the girls went to bed yet. McKenna replied, "They are still awake. They are just watching TV," I think it's supposed to say. And they said they don't want to go to bed yet. That's so cute. Shanann advised, "I'd put them to bed by 8. Chris showed you what to do. Make sure they go potty before they go to bed and Celeste gets a diaper." McKenna ensured this would all occur. Shanann searched Google for the score of the Rockies game as well as what time the Rockies games gets over. So already I think Shanann was on high alert. This is before she even gets the notification about the credit card being used in the charge. So she was kind of like on top of things the whole time. I think she was doubting if he really even went to the Rockies game or to watch the Rockies game like he claimed. So that lazy dog is closer to NK's apartment. Yeah, there's just a lot of weird things in regards to the location of the lazy dog and why they went to the ones they go to. Watts told Jeremy that he would be home in 20 minutes. Having concluded her evening trysts with Watts, Kessinger searched the internet on topics like, see, this is the thing. Chris leaves. And as soon as he leaves, she starts looking things up on the internet. She looks up Chris Watts. She looks up Shanann Watts. She looks up Ronnie Watts. And she looks up 2825 Saratoga Trail. This is their address. So those searches have always kind of puzzled a lot of people. I kind of forgot that she even looked up Chris. But another example of her kind of cyber stalking Shanann. I mean, this is, I think, the third one that we have in the whole discovery. The first one, of course, being in 2017, a year before the murders. And then January, before she works with Chris as well. And then this night on the 11th of August, she's searching Shanann again. And why exactly Ronnie Watts was thrown in there, a lot of people have wondered that as well. Your thoughts?
I definitely find that the timing of these searches extremely interesting. And like you said, I kind of had forgot that she typed in Chris Watts as well. I knew Ronnie and the address, but like the order, just Chris Watts, Shanann Watts. I just really think there is something that happened at the Lazy Dog that led her to, I don't know, really have to like intimidate Chris maybe, and that could be part of the searches. I wonder how she even found out Ronnie's name. Like, I've dated guys and don't know their dad's name yet, you know, like
Right.
I just wonder, did she ask him? Did he tell her? Did she find it through Facebook? Like, how?
Especially since they're only together for 6 weeks. And,
Yes.
we don't, I didn't meet his kids. We're not doing, or it wasn't like that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, she's claimed she didn't tell her friends about him. But like Swampside says, didn't she have 2 friends over that night? So many times she has said things like her friends didn't know about him. Come to find out, they had to have known about him. And if her friends are over that night, Chris leaves, are they all huddled around looking at this stuff?
Exactly.
Like, what is the deal with searching him? Like, he just left. Like, if you had a question or if you needed to see something, like, just ask him. It's just so strange. It's literally, it's just stalking. But why? And why look up the address? She had been to his house before. We know because of pings on her cell phone. And she admits it. She kind of lies and says that it was only like 1 or 2 times. Come to find out, she was pinging there more than the times that she told the FBI agent she had been there.
Yes.
So why the heck is she Googling the address? And like you said, we've always wondered, like, were these aspects of intimidation? And what we mean by that is, I don't know, like, could have gotten back to Chris that, if you're not on board with our plan, like, we know where you live. We know your father's name is Ronnie. Like, again, this is, of course, speculation, but what do you guys make of these searches? Comment down below for those on replay. It's just kind of puzzling. And somebody asked, why not Cindy Watts? I mean, that's a good question.
And I always wondered, I've always kind of said this with this case, like, this is the stuff that was included in the discovery. Like, I just wonder how many other searches there were. They never took any kind of laptop she had. What else did she search that we don't know about? the stuff we do know about is so bizarre and just eerie.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, what else is there to this that we're never probably going to know?
And there is more, because even in this report, earlier we said this guy, or whoever wrote this report, this by no means was the only time she saw pornographic videos via the internet. So they
have more of it. Yep.
They have more. So when people say things like they investigated and they did everything they had to, and she's innocent and she had nothing to do with this, there's so much more than this discovery has even shown us. And again, this is only the prosecution side of the narrative. What takes place in a real trial is, the prosecution would have handed this stuff to the defense. The defense would have said, I'd like to have, the other searches that you have here. It says here that, she sought other material. They would have dug in more. They would have said, give us everything you have, and this only skims the surface. So if people are looking at what's the truth, go to the discovery, like, you're not getting the truth. You're only getting the narrative from the state. And as we know, the district attorney Rourke has been caught, red-handed in lies in this case. He's had to backpedal. He's had to explain things. He says something like, we believe for the most part that she was forthcoming. That doesn't make me sleep well at night to know that Rourke is saying for the most part, she's truthful. Like, no, we don't want to hear that. And then what did he say in his podcast? Like, sometimes the bad guys slip away from us or get away.
Yeah. Something along those lines. Like, basically, sometimes you just can't get them all. It's like, excuse me. Sometimes you can, though. And in this case, maybe you could have, but it was just such a mess from the beginning, I feel.
So then later it says Shanann calls Watts and held a 3-minute conversation. So that's the end of that page. Before we go into more discovery pages, let's pull up the video that I'd done on the lazy dog. This is 4 years old, this video. So don't mind the editing. Don't mind. You can tell it's much different than my editing nowadays, but you got to start somewhere.
That is right.
And it's crazy to think how long we've been looking into stuff, isn't it?
Yes, it really is.
4 years. And so many people have the same questions, and then they have, even more questions. It just is never ending.
I know.
Hi.
Would it be Monday?
I saw him on Saturday. That was the last time I saw him.
Okay. And then can you walk me through that on Saturday? Like, what did you guys meet? What was that?
So when we spent time together, I didn't really go to his house. We would spend time at my house. He went out to dinner. That's what we did. He said he had a babysitter. He had to wait for the babysitter. And
I'm sorry, I already have to pause it. So she's telling, this is her first interview. It's not good audio because it's a hidden mic in his jacket or shirt or whatever while they're at the park. And she says, when we spent time together, we spent it at my house. So another question is like, okay, so then why don't we ever get anything from her house? Like, as far as they searched it, or they had means to get a search warrant and they conducted it there. You know what I mean? If they spent so much time over there.
And then when they go to prison is the first time that really tells them, like, well, I was mostly at her house. I wasn't even, really seeing my stuff those 5 weeks, like our pictures of the family. Like, I was at her house. And it's like they ignored that NK had told them that. And then obviously they didn't go into NK with Chris at all before his plea deal and confession, fake confession. So yeah, you're so right. Like, I've always said that, like, your lone family annihilator spends all this time at this place and you don't even look into it, even though she was caught in lies. Her phone history is suspicious, etc.
I know. And Shmita, good to see you. So Jilly Bean says your voice is too much. Mine or MK's?
Or mine. It could be one of us three.
Oh, geez. I hope it's NK.
And we met up. I don't even know what time he came over. Probably like 5 or 6. And we tried to go to a restaurant down the street from my house, but I didn't like the menu. So we left, and then we went to another one off of like 144th. It's called the Lazy Dog.
So when she says we went to this Lazy Dog, but I didn't like the menu, she kind of does this laugh, and it's like that like nervous, like duper delight type of laugh. She's like, so it's like, we know you're lying. Like, that's not why you left that Lazy Dog. I don't know why they left it for real, but I don't believe it's like, we didn't like the menu. Like, you guys are locals to Colorado. You should know like which one you want to go to or not, you know?
Same. I don't believe that either. And I'm with you on the little laugh. That's an interesting catch.
And we went up there and we had dinner. And then he came back to my house and hung out with me for probably like 15 minutes. And then he left because he said he had to go to the babysitter. So he stayed.
And that was Saturday?
That was Saturday. That was the last time I saw him.
Okay. And was there anything else?
So she has stated twice without being asked, and Saturday was the last time I saw him. So she said it twice in the minute 13 seconds that we've already played. And it's like, I just wonder, especially since she wasn't asked, when is the last time you saw Chris? The fact that she kind of gives that information, like, I just feel like she's trying to paint the narrative, and you can't trust it. A lot of people want to know her alibi for Sunday. You know, we hear that she went to some IMAX theater with her family. That very well could be true because she talks about it with Chris in some of the very few text messages that we have. But as far as the entire day, Sunday, like, we don't really know her whereabouts. And she couldn't even remember, you know, the 111 conversation or what she did. And she said, oh, I was doing laundry. So I think that there is definitely an opportunity for there to have been more contact with those two than just Saturday personally. But again, we don't have any proof.
That you did, was it just dinner? Did you go anyplace else and visit any other?
No, we just went to dinner. That's one of the only times I've actually ever been out in public with him. But yeah, just dinner.
Lie.
Yeah.
Lies.
That's one of, and again, another example of her kind of offering that information, right? Like, she wasn't asked, how many times have you been in public with him?
Yes.
She decides to offer it. And just like she said that she, you know, when I never really went to his house, when we hung out, we spent it at my house. Again, offering that information, and we caught her in lies based on her phone pings. Like, no, you were there in July. You were there in August. Like, you were there a couple times in July. You know, we have that proof. So here, we know that it's a lie because they went to the Speedway together. They went to the movie theater together. They went to Victoria's Secret together. Sand dunes. I mean, come on. She's literally lying to a federal agent at this point, and that's a crime. So yeah, it's so infuriating, pretty much. Thoughts?
I completely agree. And like you said, it's lying to a federal agent in literally her very first interview. And I think it's interesting how you're pointing out how she is offering up certain information before she is asked. And to me, that means that it's not necessarily true. It's like she's wanting to get ahead of it. And then right here in this scenario, there is solid proof that she lied, and she lies so easily. It's just very concerning how easily they just roll out of her. But yeah, you only lie when you have something to hide. Exactly. And so for her to have lied about the outings, and then they later find out there were more, once again, like, there are so many little things that should have probed a more thorough investigation into her, and the fact it didn't happen. And then we have Rourke saying, I believe she was mostly forthcoming. Like you said, I'm not okay with that. I never will be. It's so frustrating.
And that's another reason why, like, I know everyone likes us to dig into this case. It can get kind of frustrating and tiring, but at the same time, I think it's important for us to point this stuff out because there's still people who believe the narrative that like she didn't know that they were still married, she didn't know Shanann was pregnant. It's like, wake up. She knew so much. So I have no problem exposing it all these years later.
And so for the most time in the past, whenever you guys were together, it was at your house, or was it like going out somewhere?
Typically not. I mean, we've done a few things, but not.
And on Saturday, do you remember what the time frame was?
I think it was probably like 5 to 10-ish, somewhere around there. And I don't even think it was 10. We had to be back by 10. So I think it was a little bit before that. I think it was like 9:30. It was somewhere in there. And I remember it might have been like a little after 5 too. All I know is the babysitter was going to get there around that time, and he had to be back before 10. So give or take drive time, sometime in that 5-hour window.
And when he came to your house, I'm assuming he picked you up at your house?
I don't really like ride in his car. I've been in that white car they have once, but other than that, we take my truck everywhere. Always.
When he came to your house, what vehicle was he driving?
I didn't even.
The fact that she admits to being in Shanann's car once, I believe it was probably more than once.
I agree.
Another example of like, it was only, I've been in that white car once. And it's like, she talks about Shanann's car like it's so disgusting. Like she's like, it's like you envy that car. Like you wish you had that car, I think, like
yeah,
everything that they had, she wanted.
Pay attention to that, but probably his. I don't think he really takes that APC truck anywhere. He doesn't have to.
Okay, so usually when he comes see you, with the white vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you guys went out, did you take your vehicle to go wherever you were going?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you had dinner. Was there anything else? Any other discussion about anything?
Nothing out of the
ordinary. Did you talk about anything about him and his relationship with his wife? That come up? Nothing? No.
I mean, I've been helping him trying to like find a new spot. So I'm sure we talked about like, hey, because I know we were trying to set up a time this week to go like have him. He was looking for a 2-bedroom apartment. He wanted to get an apartment that was for him and his girls. And so sometimes, we talk about that recently because he's just like, I got to find a place. We were supposed to go look at some stuff this week.
Saturday, we went to, what's the name of that bar that we used to go to? It's not the same, the Lazy Dog, but it's the one off of 144th and 925. I think it's 144th up there. And it's still.
See, I love that. Like, I forget some of the things that I wrote notes on for this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's a good point.
Acting like she didn't remember the name of the place, but, talking to Mark, the FBI agent, no problem remembering it. She's looking to her dad when we see the video. The video of her interview came out after this video was made. So we only had audio at this point, which is another strange thing in the case too, but that's another topic. So she looks to her father. She's like, what's that place we go to? So just to kind of give context to who she's asking and stuff.
Lazy Dog?
Yes.
Did he ever mention a Rockies game that night?
No, I don't think so. But the Broncos were playing.
Okay.
Which we couldn't see because they sat us in really crappy spots. But it's okay because it's preseason. But
so do you recall what time you went there?
Yeah, there really isn't, James. There really isn't anything in the discovery talking about him apartment searching. So I don't know. I think that he really was because he was looking to sell the house. And he was looking at a 2-bedroom, according to NK, which I know people get annoyed with this, but I think that that's more circumstantial evidence that the kids were not a part of Chris's original plan. He was going to have the 2nd bedroom for the girls to share. That's my opinion, of course. I think you share the same opinion.
Yeah, and I think that would be really interesting to know what if he was looking, but I tend to agree there probably was some stuff on there that he was looking. Regardless, I don't know. I'm still kind of the belief, like, at least towards the end, he wanted to back out of the plan. And then he basically, like, it happened. And I'm not saying like he wasn't a part of it. I absolutely think he was, but I'm of the belief at Lazy Dog, he was kind of trying to end it, and then NK showed up or threatened him or something happened, and here we are. But yeah, I would be very interested to see the searches of possible apartments or houses.
Yeah. And again, that is something that would have been brought up if it existed. But because it's not in the discovery right now from the prosecution, that might not have been something that they wanted in their narrative. You know? So again, you go to trial, or defense would have been looking into like, well, we want to pull more records of his searches. We want everything out there. So the prosecution might not have brought it up, but the defense might have brought up like, well, actually, we do have record of him looking at apartments, and you can see here that blah, blah, blah. Like, so it's just so hard to imagine this going to trial. But if it did go to trial, this discovery, of course, would only be one side of the story.
No, I remember. Well, kind of. So he had to get a babysitter that night.
Do you know who that was?
Somebody who's really young. I remember I asked him who his babysitter was, and he's like, "We have two. This girl's only 17, but the other one's out of town, so this girl's gonna stay, and she doesn't do overnights, so I gotta be back by 10." And I remember her saying that, and him saying that, and I don't know what time he got to my house. It was between, I want to say like 5:30. It might have been 5, but I don't think so, because I think the babysitter, if I remember correctly, showed up at like 4:30 or something, and he was like, "I want to spend time getting my kids acclimated to her, and then I will come."
So his children didn't even know her.
Oh no, they knew her, but he was saying like he likes to like stay there for a little while he doesn't just like walk out the door when they show up. It's like a transitional thing. And so that's why I'm saying I don't know how long it was. I want to say like 5:30, and then he had to be back by 10, so he left at like 9 something to be back by 10.
So how did he pick you up? What was he driving?
No, he didn't pick me up. He came to my house. We drove my truck.
Okay, so he gets to your house. You know what he was driving to get to your house?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure he usually drives that Lexus, but he doesn't always park it in my complex because the parking, there's not good spaces. So where you guys pick me up at, a lot of times he'll just park out there because there's room.
Okay.
So that kind of works so that because there's just not a lot of room in my apartment complex. But off the top of my head, I don't know what he was driving.
What kind of truck do you drive?
I drive a Toyota 4Runner.
Okay. So you guys take your 4Runner to the Lazy Dog.
So again, this is after he leaves her apartment, after their date. You can see the timestamp is 10:21 at night. He was supposed to be actually at his house to relieve the babysitter at 10. He's running late. That's why he had texted and told Jeremy he was going to be late. When she's asked what she drives, I felt like she kind of didn't want to give her make and model.
Yes, I feel the same way. Like her voice kind of went lower and it was more drawn out.
Yeah. And she like hesitated. She was like,
yeah.
So again, we go back to that mysterious vehicle scene, near the murder house. We'll call it the murder house, even though I don't think anyone died there. The Watts house. We've gone through that suspicious vehicle that was called in, and that is a white SUV. And then here she's asked, what she drives, and she's kind of hesitant. So make of it what you will. And the other thing too is like her not remembering what he drove to her house when this is less than a week later.
Yes. Yep.
Like, come on.
I don't buy that.
Toyota 4Runner.
Okay. So you guys take your...
My head, I don't know what he was driving.
What kind of truck do you drive?
I drive a Toyota 4Runner.
Okay. So you guys take your 4Runner to the Lazy Dog.
Yep.
And you said they sat you in crappy location?
It just
Where
depends.
were you inside
We
the bar?
were, when you walk in, you just hang.
Now, again, I don't know if anyone realized this is the footage where we see he's wearing socks and flip-flops. And I just don't believe that he goes to lazy dog restaurants and all that wearing socks and flip-flops. Not sure why he's in that. Not sure when he kind of switched shoes or whatever. Unfortunately, McKenna, the babysitter, couldn't remember what he wore on his feet when he left. So that was kind of annoying as well. If you guys missed it, you can see it when he walks in. You're more than welcome to rewind and get caught up.
Hang a right, and we were like one of the first two booths on the right when you walk in the door. It's just not a good, it's a good spot, but just not for the TVs. And we actually went to the other lazy dog. We went to the one that you and me go to. Where's that at? Federal and 120th. It's 120th and Federal, and we went there, and they have a different menu. And I was like, I don't want to eat this food, so we should go to the other one.
So initially you go to the 120th location. Did you actually get seated?
Kind of, sort of. They were like cleaning off a table, and we were standing there just kind of looking at the beer menu and the food menu, and I was like, I don't want this. And so we left.
6 o'clock?
Probably somewhere around there, 6:30, and then we left and went to the other one, and we ate dinner.
And you're in like first or second booth, right to the right of the door. I'm just asking because if they have video, we want to be able to verify that, so that's why it's important. And you're there for how long?
The other problem too is, so Kobach is saying like, we want to make sure we go to the right one in case they have video, blah, blah, blah. This is on, the 14th or whatever, 15th maybe. And they don't go there. We don't see their report until I'll pull it up after this, the 30th of August. So he's talking about how they might go there and pull video on this date, and they actually don't get there till 2 weeks later.
Oh, I don't know. Probably we didn't stay for dessert. So I don't know. How long's the restaurant take? Like an hour and a half?
I've never been to the lazy dog.
I don't know. Probably about an hour and a half. And then we went back to my house for a little bit. Hung out at my house for a little while. And then he had to leave. And then he left.
Do you recall what time you left?
Off the top of my head, no. I remember he was like going to be late to be back at 10. I think there's a text message where he starts texting me when he's home at his house.
Okay.
So you can probably figure that out. And I remember I texted him back and I was like, damn, that was quick. Or wow, that was really quick. He's like, yeah, I even had time to stop at the ATM or stop at the gas station, stop somewhere to get money to pay the babysitter.
Okay.
And I was just like thinking like, well, that was really fast. But I think he was still like a little late coming back, but nothing too drastic. So he probably left my house like somewhere around 9:30ish.
Saturday during your dinner, what kind of conversation did you guys have?
I don't even remember. So he's been trying to like eat a little healthier than he normally does. And he's always like been into working out since I knew him. And he like tries to eat clean, but he was trying to like step it up a little bit. And nothing like the people who do like the competitions and the shows that are all super restrictive. And it was nothing like that. It's just like day-to-day general maintenance. But it's how I eat, and it's pretty healthy. And he's been losing a lot of weight. He lost, I want to say like 13 pounds in the time that we were hanging out. And honestly, when you start eating a little bit cleaner and you start.
So she describes his weight loss as being like, once you start eating cleaner, that'll happen. But I think that it had more to do with drug use. Now, we don't have any drug screening from anyone in this case to know if that was taking place between those two. But I just think that there's little hints along the way that kind of point to them using drugs together. Maybe methamphetamine, maybe other things.
There's like takeaways.
I agree. And I think then in like later interviews where she's on the phone with Kobach and she goes into, oh, he was falling asleep on the couch. Like, I think it was because of Thrive. I really feel like there was drug use between them. And I feel like she eventually was trying to make it sound like it was because of Thrive.
Yes. She does try to kind of throw Thrive out there as like the blame and the culprit.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny said Viagra, probably.
Yeah. Chris is like, oh gosh, I have to keep up with this thing.
I know, because remember, she goes through her little notes and she's like, well, we were having sex like 6 times a day, and then that decreased and it wasn't as much. And it's like,
yes.
It was almost like she was kind of like saying like he changed or something. It's like, no, that's just abnormal that you guys were doing that much, like that many times a day. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Didn't she say something like he couldn't perform?
Yeah, she did.
Which is another kind of sign or circumstantial evidence, you could say, that kind of points to possible drug use, because that does happen with certain drugs.
Start working out a little bit harder the first couple months, especially for a man, because they lose weight faster. It's not something that's like that drastic to me, but it did stand out that it was like a little much. And so I was like, whoa, like maybe you're not eating enough macronutrients. So let me look at them. So he had been working on my Fitness Pal app. I'm like programming like all the stuff he eats. And
Right. So, you know, they're on a date and they're kind of punching numbers and figuring out his macros.
Yes. No. And then that's one other thing. I've brought this up before. And then, like, number one, I understand My Fitness Pal, you know, is a legitimate app. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I do think it would have been interesting for them to look at his My Fitness Pal and see how detailed it really was. Like, could they go in and see, was the app truly being used when they were at the Lazy Dog, like she said they were, or whatever? Yeah. Or like, how detailed and updated, when was it last used? Like that, those little things would have been interesting to know.
Yes, absolutely. And that would have been the digital forensics that would have kind of painted that whole story. Like, okay, let's back up what you're saying. Like, we want to know what happened on that night. We're getting very little information from either of you. And we're not really buying this whole, like, we were punching calories and macros. It's just, I just feel like if they even tried to pull up those forensics, like on the phone and in the app, that it probably wouldn't corroborate her story.
Right. I tend to agree.
I just started going through them and I was like trying to figure out like where his ratios were. And we actually spent a lot of time doing that because he'd asked me to do it for him. Because I just was at the point where I was like, if his weight loss slows down in a few weeks, he'll be fine. And if it doesn't, then his macros are a little off. It's not like that big of a deal, like in the workout community. This is like a very normal thing. But
Did you have any other outside concerns, like potential drug use, alcohol use, any of that stuff that led you to go, hey, he's lost an extreme amount of weight in such a short period of time?
No, and I wouldn't call it extreme. It was just like, it was a lot. But I mean, when I first started working out, I dropped like 12 pounds in 2 weeks when I first started like hitting it hard with the diet. So the fact that he lost like that much weight, it wasn't, like I said, it was not a surprising amount. I just didn't want it to be like a sustained amount. But no, I didn't think anything weird of it just because of like how knitted I am with the like workout community. And I know like this is possible, but it just, the thing that concerned me about it, I guess, and it wasn't even concerned, but the thing that like kind of red lighted me like, hey, this might be carrying on, is the fact that his macros were like pretty dialed in. Like I wrote them and he like didn't stay exactly on them, but his calorie intake was about where it needed to be. My experience anyways for like what he was trying to achieve. And so I don't know, he didn't seem to have a problem with it. He liked where he was at with all of that.
So that was your main conversation Saturday?
That was like a big chunk while we were there, is like us actually going through, because I was like going through each item, like, why are your ratios off?
Did you know where his kids or wife were that night?
On Saturday?
Yeah, his kids. Well, you know his kids are with the babysitter. Do you know where his wife is?
She's in Arizona.
Okay. How do you know that?
Because he told me.
Okay. You know what she's doing there?
I think she's on a business trip. He didn't even tell me right away. He actually told me, I think, like on Saturday or something. It might have been like Friday or something. I honestly don't remember. I just remember I was like really surprised where he's like, hey, like, I'm going to try to get a babysitter if you want to hang out or something like that. And I was like, why do you need a babysitter? Like, your wife's home. He's like, no, she's out of town. I was like, oh,
Okay. Is there much conversation regarding that, her on being on a trip, or the children on during those conversations?
Not really. I just asked him what time she was coming home on Sunday, and he just said really late.
Okay.
And that was it. I mean, there's nothing really to talk about with that.
So your conversation's mainly health.
And notice she's like, and that was it. There's nothing really to talk about with that. It's like, actually,
Yeah.
there is.
Right.
Just like a quadruple homicide, you know,
Mhm.
children involved. There absolutely is a reason that we need to kind of talk about this further. I just hate how she just tries to like dismiss things like it's nothing. It's really sickening. And then like when she says something like, you know, paints this whole picture of them kind of huddled around his phone on this app at a restaurant. It's like, but you were kind of laughing about how the Broncos were playing, blah, blah, blah. Like, so which is it? Were you watching the Broncos or were you on his app most of the time and everything was kind of centered around macros?
Yeah, very good points.
Related, you guys return to your house and then he goes home, and then you talk to him for a few hours on Sunday. We talked about this prior, and let's just revisit it. You guys never really went out on a date per se, with the exception of this Saturday night on the 11th. Usually you guys spent time at your home versus going out, unless I'm mistaken on what you're saying.
You are.
Okay.
So we most nights would hang out at my house, but we went out a few times. I have dates for everything, and I can give you that once I'm done with this.
So Saturday would have been.
This is Saturday, the 11th of August.
Okay.
Was that the 11th?
Yep.
Okay. This is the night that we attempted to go to the Lazy Dog on 120th and Federal, and we walked in, and I looked at their menu. They tried to feed us, and I looked at their menu, and I was like, I'm not eating here.
Right.
And because, so we went to the other Lazy Dog, which is actually owned by somebody else, so they have a different menu. So we went to the Lazy Dog off of, I think it's 144th that I told you guys, and we sat down and we ate, and
It's on Highway 7, right?
What's up?
Is it on Highway 7?
I don't think so. It's on I-25 and 144th.
Okay.
I mean, I can look it up.
No, that's okay.
Screenshot it.
I think there's two of them, and I think there was some confusion. One of our guys went, and I just want to make sure he went to the right one. I don't know the Lazy Dog, but I'll ask him tomorrow. 144th is right by Highway 7.
Okay, well, I don't know that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had never been to that one. So I think it's 144th. It might be 136th. I will look it up tonight, and I will screenshot you the address, and I will send it so that you guys, if you guys need to pull those videos, you can find it.
All right. Well, thank God we don't have to hear her voice anymore. I literally check how long these videos are when she's talking because I'm like, how much longer of her voice? But everything she says, like, we have to listen to. So this is the supplemental report from the CBI agent. Like we just heard Kobach say that he's going to send a detective out there, blah, blah, blah. And wants to make sure he goes to the right one. So I'll just read this. And the question I have, and you guys let me know what you make of it, is why it says follow-up. So the follow-up aspect makes it seem like this is not their first time kind of looking into this Lazy Dog situation. So I don't know if they went to the other Lazy Dog and then they go to this one. I really don't know. But all the other supplemental reports, none of them from what I've seen start off with follow-up at Lazy Dog or follow-up at wherever. So I don't know what to make of that. And so again, this is the report date is the 30th. I don't know if that's when he typed it up. Okay, approved date is the 31st. I don't know. You guys let me know what you make of that. But to me, it makes it seem like they followed up on the 30th of August. So
Yeah, that's a good point about the followed up. I've never really thought about that before.
yeah, I don't understand that. So where is the first report? You know what I mean? And again, this would be something that the defense team, if this went to trial, they would say, okay, so we want all your investigations from the lazy dog. So if this was a second report, then they didn't include it in this discovery, and the defense would probably dig for it and find out, like, okay, so where is the initial report? Because this one says follow up. If that's how it is, how I'm reading it. So the other thing too, it says like narrative begins on following page, and then it says 9/20. So September 20th. So I've seen 3 different dates here. I'm just going to read it. You guys let me know what you make of the 3 different dates. Like, when exactly did this take place? So follow up. Okay. So it says on the 16th. So that kind of answers that. Action taken on the 16th. So maybe it wasn't weeks later, but again, why does it say follow up on the 30th? I'm confused there. So anyways, at approximately 1450 hours, Colorado Bureau of Investigation agent Matthew Saylor responded to the Lazy Dog Sports Bar and Grill located at 3100 Village Vista Drive in Erie, Colorado. On August 11th, Chris Watts and nicholkessinger ate dinner there sometime between 1700 and 2200 hours. It was reported that Watts spent approximately $60 on a salmon dinner. Upon arrival, I observed video surveillance cameras throughout the restaurant. I contacted the on-duty manager, who advised me that the cameras belonged to an old system, and if they worked at all, they were simply live view and were not recording to anywhere. The manager told me that he could search for and give me a copy of the receipt from Watts' transaction with a credit card number, specific time, or the credit card. I don't know why it says credit card number twice, or the credit card number. But with the limited information I had, he would only be able to locate it. He would be unable to locate it. Like, why? I've worked at restaurants. Literally, if you give them the card number and the name, like there's paper copies. There should be a copy from swiping it, like in their computer system. Like, there should have been a way to kind of locate this receipt, pretty much. So I don't understand why the manager was unable to locate it. I advised the manager that I would contact him if additional information that would enable us to locate the receipt that was obtained. And he advised he would be more than happy to assist in any way he could. End of report. So they go there, they get absolutely nothing from the lazy dog. And I just don't understand why they couldn't pull up a receipt. Like, did they ever even go there? Like, if you give a manager your name, the name on the card, and the card number, there shouldn't be a problem pulling up a receipt from Saturday night.
Yeah.
It should be in their files. It should be like in their credit card. You know?
Yeah, that is really odd.
The credit card statement. So you're right. We do have evidence that they were there, because obviously Shania got that alert on her phone. So yeah, they were there, but I'm confused why. And thank you, Melanie, for the super sticker. Appreciate you. That's just, I don't know. Is that sealed too? Bella Italia wants to know. It just, to me, it looks incomplete. I don't understand why there's no record of their receipt. You are not sticking to the facts. How so? I'm reading literally from the discovery.
Yeah, elaborate.
Elaborate.
Yes.
So anyways, Lazy Dog didn't want that publicity on this case. There's something, I mean, it's for the manager to say like, oh, if you need anything else, we'd be happy to look into it. We assist in any way we could. Yeah, I'm here for the receipt. that was less than a week ago. You know, the people, here's the name, Chris Watts. They said they were here. This is the bank statement. They spent 60 something dollars on salmon. Where can I get this receipt from? Like, there should have been some way. So I don't know.
Yeah. And the receipt on the Netflix documentary, I think, didn't they go to it was like a pizza and a taco place, and they sat on the rooftop or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a Home Depot receipt I think they showed in Netflix that we had never seen before. I'm not positive on that. So.
Mm-hmm. And it was like for a smaller amount. It was like $15 or something at home.
Yes.
Or something. And again, we don't ever know anything about all that, which is another topic. And actually, you and me have like a very in-depth deep dive into the Home Depot and McDonald's surveillance that they dropped the ball on as well. So
yes.
I just don't understand how this agent is leaving the Lazy Dog without the receipt. Like, no, you stay there and you tell the manager, like, well, you know, we know that they were here. We have proof from a bank statement. Like, any way that you can find this, because why would he say, I'd be more than happy to assist in any way I could help. Yes, I'm here for you to do that. I just don't understand. And if this is the manager on duty, then call his manager. You know, like it says manager on duty. Where is the general manager? They're usually the person who kind of holds the key to all the access of things that other managers might not be able to get. So just another thing that's just annoying that we never get to see anything further from the Lazy Dog, even from the restaurant themselves. Sorry, Lazy Dog, but I won't be going to you if I ever visit Colorado.
Right. That's very frustrating.
So again, this is from, we're pretty much wrapping it up. This is from the documentary I put together. This will be statements from Frank Sr., kind of talking about when Shanann got the alert and how Frank kind of knows about the girlfriend that Chris supposedly had that he had no idea about. And then after this little clip, I'll read a little bit from the discovery. But we pretty much heard NK pretty much give her synopsis of that night, which we get very little from. But that's pretty much it. You guys share your thoughts and chat and comment below, like what exactly you think took place at the Lazy Dog. And I'll ask you, CDT, more before we close out. But let me just play this.
They had a suspicion that he may have been cheating on her because she had come home when he went. She was gone Saturday he was going to a baseball game. And it was, I caught that kind of odd because he never leaves the kids with somebody else if Shannon's not there. He's usually always home. And she checked her finances on the phone and found out he spent $60-something for dinner. And he said, yeah, I went out and had salmon and a couple of beers.
Nikki just wanted.
So again, that gives you kind of a screenshot of the finances that were being charged. It looked like it was like 10 something at Home Depot. But so this is pretty much a phone interview with Nicole Kessinger. This is going to describe the 11th, the night of the Lazy Dog. Let's see, skip down. She has been thinking about Chris's use of Thrive. Chris always wore at least 2 patches, usually on his left and right bicep and tricep area. Chris would also apply the patch over his lower back. Chris also used the supplements, shakes, and pills on a daily basis and followed the Thrive routine. Chris lost 13 pounds between July 4th and August 11th. On July 4th, Nicole went to Chris's home in Frederick, Colorado to help Chris set up his diet and weight loss goals. Nicole said that the first time she was at Chris's home after spending time at Chris's home on July 4th, Nicole went to Colorado Rockies baseball game without Chris. The second and final time she went to Chris's home was July 14th, 2018. Now that's a lie because we have her pinging. Well, you know, the ping is near the home. But I believe that, since she pinged on the days that she admits to being there, that she was probably there the day of the 13th as well at that 6:16 in the morning ping. That's just my opinion, based off of her phone records. Nicole said Chris was always full of energy and he did not need to sleep. He regularly went to sleep at 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. and woke between 4:30 and 5 a.m. Nicole recalled that Chris would sometimes fall asleep during their conversations, but catch himself and wake back up. Nicole recalled the following dates and locations which she and Chris visited during their relationship. Saturday, August 11th, Chris drove to her home in his Lexus. They went to the Lazy Dog. See, this says the Lexus in her interview. She couldn't remember. They went to the Lazy Dog Bar and Grill on 120th and Federal in Westminster, Colorado, and chose to leave this location to go to another Lazy Dog bar at 144th Avenue and 125 in Erie, Colorado. Now, we never get a supplementary report from both Lazy Dogs. Am I right?
No, not that I've seen.
So, it's like they go to that one, and which is fine and dandy. They get absolutely nothing from it. So then why didn't they go to this other one?
Right.
They drove Nicole's Toyota 4Runner to both locations. So this is something like, there should be parking lot cameras. All of that would have been pulled had this gone further. After having a meal at the second Lazy Dog, they returned to Nicole's home. Chris left her home in his Lexus. Nicole recalled that Chris was always paid for their meals when they went out on dates. See, this is the thing too, is she acts like they never really went out in public. And then here it's like he always paid for her meals when they went out on dates. Chris had always paid for everything using Anadarko gift cards. Nicole was not certain how Chris got the gift cards. What? The gift cards were given out from the safety department for doing good, safety measures and stuff at work. And it was like a reward. So apparently Nicole is telling Kobach that she doesn't know how he got the cards. So, I'm under the impression that Nicole was handing out those cards, or at least had access to them, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, she worked in the safety department. So for her to say oh, no clue, red flag. Don't know that I believe that. Right. And real quick, it's very interesting how much detail she's including right here. The exact amount of weight he allegedly lost, between the exact dates. But yet other things she never remembers or never brings up and says, oh, I remember now what we talked about on the 111-minute call. It's she's so picky and choosy about what she remembers.
Right. Give information about things that just don't matter. And then, I don't remember. It probably wasn't anything important.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Right. And like Red Sky said, with the babysitter not doing overnights like they've claimed, they had a short window of time to be together on August 11th. So why waste time driving to different locations, at the restaurants? That's a good point. It's this whole, I didn't like the menu and all that stuff. Come on. It's just not, it's not the truth. Let's see. Where did I lose my spot? Okay, Nicole, but didn't remember how he got those cards, but believes they were given to him by Anadarko as a bonus or for being safe on the job. Right, in the safety department. Nicole believed Chris had been using the gift cards to hide the relationship from Shanann. So this is the other thing why people think okay, so he purposely used their regular credit card so Shanann would see it and she would get upset and it would start the altercation when she got home. So that's where that theory kind of comes into play. I almost feel like he used that gift card to show Nicole and maybe other people that he was done with this old life and he's showing them okay, I'm not going to hide this anymore. So know that I'm on board with this plan. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Nicole noticed on August 11th, 2018 at the Lazy Dog in Erie, Colorado, Chris paid for their meal with a baby blue credit card. During this time, Chris also made it clear to Nicole he was filing for divorce from Shanann. Nicole thought it was unusual for Chris to pay with a credit card as he always used the gift cards. She believed that Chris had nothing to hide anymore from Shanann, so he was not concerned with paying with a credit card that Shanann may have been able to see. So that's the thing. It's like, was it to start this altercation, like when she got home, so that they had a reason to fight? Or is it something like kind of along those same lines, like it's saying here, like he's showing Nicole that, he's done with his relationship with Shanann and kind of on board with her and this plot to murder, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, that pretty much concludes the deep dive into the lazy dog, because that's all we have. I mean, we don't really know their conversation. We don't have CCTV footage of them there. All we have is the CCTV footage of him at the gas station, allegedly breaking change for the babysitter, which that's the other thing I don't get. Like, why did he break a 20? Like, what did the babysitter get paid? You know what I mean?
Right. That is a good question.
Because it's just kind of like an odd thing to do. Like, you go to the ATM, you grab a 20, and then you just break it into 4 or 5s we saw. And so what did you pay her?
Yeah. I never really thought about that one either.
It's weird. I don't think McKenna even talks about how much she got paid. If she did, you guys comment down below. They were essentially telling Shanann she's at the lazy dog. Cheap. It's all just strange.
Yes.
It wasn't just the gift cards. Discovery says he frequently used a top-up card service, so he was transferring money to another card. Didn't he like open up a bank account too or something?
He was looking up something like My Prepaid Center or something like that.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So anyways, your final thoughts on Lazy Dog Night before we conclude.
Well, okay. I want to know more about the friend she was hosting, where she was during the searches of the materials. I want to know where she was during their tryst before and after the lazy dog. I feel like the reason, I do think it is possible. I don't really have like a set theory, but I do think it's possible they went to the first one and left is because they did meet other people. The only thing with that is I guess they weren't worried about the camera being checked. Maybe they knew there was no cameras. Who knows? I think that Chris was likely trying to back away from the plan to at least some degree because NK says in her interview how at the lazy dog, he did not seem interested in the apartment search anymore. And I think that that could be just that, or it's like that kind of layered as in he wasn't interested in the plan anymore. I also think it is possible. I don't know about if I think they went to Survey to do anything. I know a lot of people think maybe they went out there and dug. I kind of don't think that. I do think the socks and the sandals are an interesting layer as well. But yeah, I definitely think that there was some conversations that night that Chris was possibly trying to back out and that could have to do also with the Google searches. And I also think it's possible Jim was there in town and Danielle, and that they were present for the Google searches. So yeah, I think it was very significant based on what she says and what Chris says, what Ronnie was saying, that in the car, he just kept saying, I should have gone to the game. I think it was like once after the lazy dog, there was no getting out of it, basically.
Mm-hmm. I remember he said something like a light bulb would have gone off in my head, a light bulb would have gone off in her head. And it would have taken them on a different trajectory if he didn't go there. So it's like, it's almost like he tries to say like even NK could have backed out at that point. So it's like, what do you mean?
That's the thing. Like if it's him and him alone and he's this lone family annihilator, like why would a light bulb need to be going on or off in Kay's head at all. Like, for him to say that is very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. And for him to tell his dad over and over, like in the car, like, I should have
Mhm.
gone to the game. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it was a significant night in the whole scheme of things, and we have very little information on it. And to only get one supplemental report from one of the lazy dogs, I believe somebody asked earlier something about their menu. I believe when we looked into this, we called and they did have different menus. So
Yes.
that was true, what MK
Mhm.
said. Like, I think one of them was like a chain restaurant, and then the other one was like a bar and grill or something. Like, they really did have different menus, but I don't think that that's why they went to the different one.
Right. Same.
Yeah, it's just so much mystery, I guess, and that's why people are kind of sucked in. Um, but yeah, I appreciate you coming on and kind of
Yeah.
sharing your thoughts on everything. I'm trying to think if there's the other thing that I kind of came to the conclusion on that I haven't shared with you yet is, of course, this kind of goes into the whole theory of the explosion plan that we believe. And, since the plan didn't take place, it's, people always wonder, why didn't Chris put the kids with her in the shallow grave? Why did it happen the way it did? And even Frank says, why would he bring them to his work site? There's so many places that he could have brought her. And he says something along the lines of, when I lived there with them, I used to drive for Lowe's, the store, and he delivered appliances. But he says, I used to drive for Lowe's, and there would be so many places that you just knew, like, if a body was dumped there, you would never find it. And it's so true. Like, not only, and we've always said, like, okay, well, the bodies had to go there because that's where Chris's truck went, so it was like they had to go where they had record of Chris being, because Chris never left like his neighborhood area besides going to his friend's house, like after he gets called home. But then I think about it more into this whole like aspect of like people being upset about fracking and the oil company, and just disgruntled people in regards to the practices that were taking place at Anadarko. Like, the bodies had to be on Anadarko property, because since the explosion didn't take place, they still had to tie in the oil company to this like tragedy and headline. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm trying to kind of process what you said because I'm tired. But no, like, that is interesting.
Like, since the explosion didn't take place, they didn't get to give their like whole like, fracking is bad. Look what ended up happening. So then instead they were like, okay, well, I guess we'll just have Anadarko kind of be drawn into this like horrific event, and we're going to just leave them here.
Right.
Whether or not Chris was a part of that or not, I don't know. As far as like disposal, he claims he was, but his statements are wishy-washy, and everyone has their own opinion. But I think that a lot of the fact that they were kind of put there for sure, like had a lot to do with, yes, his GPS would have, had to have had them there, but also like it's part of their statement that they wanted to make, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I see what you're saying.
had to be drawn into this like case.
Right.
Again, that's my opinion. I just wanted to share that with CDT because I haven't really had a chance to kind of share that. Bubba's on board with it, and happy birthday again. And thank you again for coming. You're always invited. Usually we do Thursday nights going out of town, so we jump to Wednesday. So I appreciate you guys all being here with us. And there's some stuff in the works for both of us, and we'll keep you guys informed on stuff we're doing. And come back here next week, and we'll be here.
Sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate chatting with you. This night and topic will always bother me for sure in this case, like so many other things. But
I know. And like Tony says, I don't believe he disposed of the girls, in my opinion. And I just keep getting, flack for it. Every single live stream I get, like, I know I'm like, I'm going to wake up in the morning. There's going to be people like, screaming at me that like, yes, he did it alone and the children were a part of the plan. And that's fine. I appreciate that, you know, you and Tony and other people kind of see a different perspective, and like, we don't really know the truth. And that's the facts that, you know, my theory could be totally wrong and your guys' theory could be totally wrong. And the district attorney's theory, I believe, is wrong. But this is where we're at. And that's why people are kind of sucked in, because they just want to know, like, why would somebody do this to their kids and wife, you know?
Right.
Well,
And then again, like, you know, it's not, there are some cases, in my opinion, that are pretty black and white. Like this one is not at all.
yeah.
It's really not. There's so much when you really look into it. And then again, so much that we don't know. So I'm thankful that we have, you know, the platform and the ability and the freedom to discuss these topics. And I appreciate doing it with you, Amber, and everybody, you know, in the chat. I think it's a healthy and normal thing to want to know more when something so gruesome as this happens. And then there's so many loose ends. And then we have the DA doing what he's done with the podcast and changing the narratives. And it's just, it's a case that's like never going to leave my mind. I know.
And a lot of people in chat have been with us, you know, for these 4 years that we've kind of been talking about this, and if not more. So we really appreciate you guys, and we'll talk very soon. And thank you again, Kelly, for coming on. I missed having you on here.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.